What's good with YouTube? You already know Big Flocka with a convict's perspective where we smash, dash, and slide on through that little bit of energy. Please hit the like, subscribe, comment, do all those things to help support this channel. And hit that bell notification for fire content, man. And we got an exclusive, man. Hopefully, this is gonna be something new for a lot of you guys out there. And I'm gonna do a quick disclaimer, okay? I was provided a lot of information about the Goshen incident, and a lot of it connects the dots, and it makes a lot of sense, man. It makes more sense than anything I've heard. Um, there's certain things that I was able to corroborate through other sources. Some things I wasn't, right? Some things I wasn't. But this looks like a legitimate story, and it makes sense from everything that I've heard regarding this case. And there's going to be a lot of details, okay? So that's my disclaimer. If there's any minor errors, okay, I'm only relaying this the way I received this information. Like I said, I have a lot of different sources I tap into that are in the community that have known me for a long time, and this is gonna be an interesting one though. So okay, so we finally have a potential motive for the Goshen Massacre, and I'm gonna sit there and let it be known first and foremost. The Granades, the NF had nothing to do with this. Okay. Now there's certain things I'm gonna mention in this where I'm not gonna mention names, but you can put two and two together if you're from the area, and you can pretty much corroborate what I'm saying. So first and foremost, the biggest shocker that you guys haven't heard yet: there wasn't one shooter, there wasn't two, there was actually four of them. The two that have been arrested, okay. Of course, Noah, right, who was Angel or Nano's fucking protege, was the one that actually killed the 16-year-old and the baby. Okay, I don't have no problem putting that out there. But there was other individuals that were involved. One of them is currently locked up on unrelated charges, and the other one is allegedly still out there in the streets. Okay, and that one that's allegedly on the streets is apparently is a known informant. They say out there, and the guy is, as well as an ex Sureño, and he was the RC's main man. Trip on that. Okay. Um, a lot of things came to the forefront of this case, man, and I'm trying to be real cautious to not say anything regarding anybody that's innocent regarding the knowledge and of this situation regarding the baby that's being killed. The reason why I'm putting out information, right, is one, I'm pretty sure, from my understanding, law enforcement probably knows all this information, even probably more details. And if not, number two, we're talking about the baby here. No child should ever be taken away. This was a hideous crime. This is a just something that's just not even imaginable could happen, that someone could be okay with this. Okay, now the motive behind this case, right, is apparently, okay, the intended target was Larry and two other people, right? Now the intended targets on that night were uh, Larry and his son Edward and Martin. Now three targets were targeted, okay, and the reason why they were targeted was for one reason, okay. Now it is true about the night before, the drinking and the trying to pump up the individual, fucking Nano, on the RC's part. I'm referring to him as the regiment commander of that area. Okay. Now here's the tricky part about it, though, right? Now, as we already know with this case, a week before, this house got raided. A lot of dope came up missing, right? Now, on the down low, what a lot of people don't realize is that the Sureño was doing business with the regiment commander of Goshen. And the regiment commander was keeping things under wraps. He wasn't reporting his earnings. Therefore, he was fearful things were going to get out, as well as he took a huge loss. Therefore, he was trying to do damage control to the situation. Therefore, four people were sent. And now four people make sense because you have one young kid, right? Okay, who was Nano's protege, like I said, and you had Nano, and six people were gunned down. That takes a lot of skills to go in there and execute a hit to get in and get out that fast. Now, it's been put out there just two individuals because that's what was seen on camera. Okay, this is where the shotgun is involved, right, in this whole case, because there's a shotgun involved as well. Now, those two suspects are under investigation. This is just what's being told to me. I'm not going to mention their names, but hey, a lot of this information is already pretty much being investigated and probed into. Now, that was the whole purpose for why they were going there to do the hit. Now, from my understanding, that there's been a lot of hits that were going on out there the last few years that were all related to the regiment commander. Now, he was pretty much trying to cover his ass on a lot of things, This right here was him trying to do damage control. Because if he's accounting for a certain amount of income, yeah, he's sending the bare minimum, which is what I heard was he wasn't reporting his earnings, and that's a big no-no. Misappropriation of funds, that'll get you whacked. So if it would have came out that this individual got busted with major weight and was pushing for D-Ray and he was a Sureño, it's not the fact that he was a Sureño doing business, it's the amount of weight. And he was trying to conceal that so he could pocket more money in his change and was taking advantage of having status out there in the streets. Now, after this hit happened, they all went to the regiment commander's house where they cut their hair and the weapons were they got rid of the weapons. And it was brought up about the baby being killed in the process of this. And apparently, from what I heard, the regiment commander out of his mouth said that's one less problem we have to worry about. Straight cold hearted, had no remorse. So apparently, like I said, the regiment commander is related to an individual that was involved. And so one of the other individuals was his main man, which was the one that was accounting for all the funds when he was locked up, was a former Sudanese, believe it or not. And pretty much he put himself before as far as in protecting this individual. Somehow they're all related, believe it or not. That's the interesting thing in this case. And so this was all about basically damage control. You know, so a baby got controlled because he was doing things that didn't want to report his earnings and got greedy. Straight up. And so I got no problem putting this out there, man. And, you know, I'm pretty sure this is all hearsay. So it's not like it can be used. It's nothing new. It's already out there in the guy is, right? Within the select few circles. Okay. So that's what happened. So this was not related, as like I said before, to the NF. This was someone that was using his authority to push that agenda to have this dealt with. The other three victims were never supposed to get hit. You know what I'm saying? But there was no complaint afterwards about it. And that's why a lot of people are currently upset with him. Now, the 4 people involved, that makes a lot more sense than just 2 on 6. It just, to me, that was like too much work. You're going to have to hit this, hit that, hit that. These guys couldn't have been that well professional to execute it. You know what I'm saying? Because if they were professional, they would have never hit the baby in the 16-year-old in the first place. Now, that was done, like I said before, by the protege. Now, the individual, Dono, he's also going to be charged with 2 other murders. One that happened in September of 2021, excuse me, where a clerk was gunned down. I think it was a robbery killing. And another one in front of a school. Okay. There's also another hit that was reported as a suicide that is particularly maybe related to the past, which was this whole family's family member, which was an individual named Victor, I think Sauna or something like the Sueno. He was killed in 2021 as well. Made it look like a suicide when the sister came into the house. Apparently, there's rumors that are circulating that was also a hit related to the greed and stuff that was going on off the street in the drug trade. Now, this is a small community that's been plagued with a lot of murders. Right? A lot of it stemming through one's greed, right? Who didn't even give a fuck about a 10-month-old baby's life. You know what I'm saying? So all this, the motive makes more sense now because no one could really figure out, like, why was it this serious? There was supposed to be 3 people hit, and it was basic damage control. And, you know, basic status was being used to push people to do what he wanted to have done out there. Like I said, there was dudes that had been deemed no good for, you know, sleeping with this dude's wife 18 years ago. You know what I'm saying? I hate to put that out there, but this is stuff that was being done in this renegade behavior. It's basically someone who went rogue and started making choices because they had a little bit of status and authority. And there's been a lot of questions. Now, his house was hit. The regiment commander's house was hit by the DEA, I think either the same day that they got arrested or the following day. And he didn't get taken in. Okay. Now, a lot of people are already questioning why he was looking at Fed time in Operation Red Soul, and he only got 2 years. Now, like I said, you know, the unfortunate thing about this is that a lot of people's lives are now lost. You know what I mean? Whether it was a direct result of this Goshen massacre, or if they lost someone because of it, or people made choices because of it. You know, Nano was basically one of his like hitters out there, you know, to do all that dirty work out there in the streets, man. And basically was being utilized. And that's been confirmed by several people. People told me he's like old dog out there. He was with the business. You know, all the 2014 stuff from the old case and whatnot. I think that was used as leverage to get him to want to be involved in doing this. You see what I'm saying? But there's been a lot of senseless hits out there that I was told that should have never even happened, that were personal. A lot of the homeboys are out there fucking strung out on coke, I heard. Um, and a lot of them are being pretty much someone's using their status and their connections that they have. They say that they have behind the walls to pretty much press their agenda. Oh, you don't want the big homies to get at you. You know how it gets when they get like this. That agenda is being pushed. This whole thing is all fucked up. Like I said from the day one, something was going to come out that wasn't going to make sense. That was going to make sense now, but back then it wasn't making sense. This makes sense to me. It really makes a lot of sense from everything I've heard about this one dude's character. You know. Now, some people are saying that he didn't call, that he only pumped him up. But I've gotten a little bit further, someone that was more further involved that has told me that no, he gave this directive. That it was supposed to be 3 people. It wasn't supposed to be the 6. You know? That just happened in the heat of the moment. And it does make sense that there was fucking 4 people involved instead of 2. Because they were only there, boom, in and out real quick. You know? Even the intended target wasn't got. I think only one of the intended targets was actually got, man. But that's the thing that's fucking unfortunate, is that this was a whole, like I said, this was sanctioned from the streets. And it was done without the clearance of anybody behind the walls. He acted on his own behalf because he wanted to cover his fucking ass. And his response about a 10-month-old baby, that sickened me right there, man. You know. And this isn't the only time I've heard nothing but bad stuff about this particular individual. Even though I'm not referring to him by name, people know what I'm talking about. You know, those that he felt that he could take, that he could have to benefit him and use leverage and whatnot, he used them to the fullest, man. You get what I'm saying? So he had those that would fucking, at order, would follow his directives, his directions. And once he took over the area, is when things started to change. It's like everybody had a fucking fake smile and stuff, man. Now, there's people that have walked away based upon his actions out there that did not respect what he was doing, that they're being called, oh, they're poison, they're this and that, when they used to be good homeboys. They just saw past his actions. So that's the thing, when someone comes into a position of status and rank out there in the streets, right, they can start making choices and decisions, right, that you, if you're not involved, are a good homeboy, you can sit there and say, no, I don't want to be part of that. That's wrong. And if you voice your opinion, they're going to say that you're spreading poison. That's exactly what happened with this situation, man. Now, normally I wouldn't speak, like I said before, on a current event. But this one right here is a little bit different. You had a 17-year-old girl, 16-year-old girl, and a 10-month-old baby that were fucking gunned down over one selfish fucking person who was trying to cover his fucking own ass because he wasn't reporting that he was doing business. See, he was dealing a lot more business with a lot of others, more fucking Southsiders out there. You know, interesting situation. You know, and like I said, there was another individual, like I said, Victor whatever, who was speaking out against him. He ends up mysteriously dead. Apparently, they tried to fucking frame it as a suicide, but there's those that say it wasn't a suicide. I don't know. You know, it's just that a lot of stuff has happened in this small town over the last few years that have basically stemmed from one person. You know, whether it was them trying to fucking cover, a lot of it, like I said, has all been about covering their fucking ass, being threatened to be reported or this and that. So this is something that we used to hear about in the 80s and 90s about the bandidos who would take action to cover their own fucking behind. This is exactly what you see involved in this case right here, man. And this is some deep shit, man. Deep shit. You know, this is probably the first time you guys heard that there was actually 4 people involved, right? I just mentioned the shotgun part recently. You know, someone vomited at the scene. There's a lot of little details that people don't know about, you know? And he played those mind games, you know what I'm saying? And somehow they're all connected, you know? But I found it interesting. I was told that one of the ones that was involved was a former Sudanese, that's a known informant out there, but that he's fucking put a shield around him because I think he's somehow related, right? And while he was locked up for a while, the regiment was still operating, right? All the funds were going to a former Sudan. I guess this is well known out there, You know what I'm saying? This, like I said, this is information that I've heard from a lot of numerous different sources. But the things I've heard, I've discussed recently, the 4 person that just came from 1 person, it makes sense to me. You know, it makes sense. And, you know, for me to know the remarks and what happened afterwards, where they went, you know what I'm saying? How they cut their hair, you know what I mean? How 1 person helped get rid of the guns, which was pretty much the one that fucking called it. You know, I don't know where it went from there, but these are all things that like are detailed accounts of what happened. You know, what else was there that I was pretty much told on that? Like I said, the DA hit his house. He's still out there. You know what I'm saying? The next day after the killings, robbed around the hood like it was nothing. You know, trying to avoid any accountability or responsibility. And I do know that the actual shooter, right, does blame homeboy for what happened. Is what I heard was he feels bad in himself. He does not feel good about himself. One of them. The other one tried to kill himself. As well as he blames fucking the RC. Now this is what I'm thinking. Now it was said by someone that they are allegedly still active. One of them is, at least. They're being held in separate places. Now the only reason why one would still be active is they're trying to fucking either cover their ass, hope their ass gets covered, right? Because if one gets deemed all bad, then he could fucking spill the beans on all of them, or spill the beans on all those that are involved. And nobody likes anybody who orders the removal of an incident where a baby gets killed. Look at what happened with Malone. Because that went wrong, he pretty much got deemed. There may be more details to it, but at the end of the day, he was deemed. And this is a delicate situation just like that. You know, I don't see anybody getting cleared of this incident, man. And, you know, normally, like I said, I wouldn't want to put details on an open case like this. And that's why I didn't put certain names out there, because I don't know what part that they may have played. But I do have an issue with baby kills, just like I would have an issue with a fucking child molester the same way. These are things that we can't ever accept. I don't give a fuck what happens to anybody that supports that or allows that to happen or thinks it's a fucking joke or that it happens because of your fucking call on it. You know what I'm saying? The fact that this dude said that's one less problem we have to worry about. Not about the other victims, but about the fucking baby. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, this is raw news. This is real shit. You know, the one shooter, Angel, Nana, whatever, he's going to get charged with like what? 2 more murders, they say. One that happened in front of the high school or school. I don't know if it was high school or regular school. And then the clerk. You know, and there's a potential, a whole bunch of other hits that have been going on out there and stuff, man. I'm not saying he's guilty of any of those, but I've been told that he's being charged with those murders. So stay tuned. Like I said from the get-go, guys, I said something in this case is going to come out that's going to shock all of us, man. That a lot of things weren't lining up. Something happened, we didn't know what or why. And now this whole fucking storyline that I just presented makes total fucking sense to me. It does. I could be wrong, you know, but I did get it from a reliable source, and it kind of goes with the things that I already heard about the particular individual, some of the stuff that was going on. You know, there's some that were close, but the person I heard this story from is really close. You know, so there was a lot more details provided about this incident. Is it 100% accurate? You know what I'm saying? I can't sit there and stamp it. But there's going to be a lot of truth to what I said here today. And it all makes sense. With that said, it's your boy Flacco, Convict's Perspective. I'm out.